Man United fans have wanted our club to act early in the transfer window instead of waiting for a panicked rush, and that's exactly what we're starting to see. There has been a huge amount of activity in the last 2 weeks, and United are involved in multiple deals in multiple positions at the same time. Let me explain it all to you, because as United fans, we're just not used to seeing this, and it's pretty exciting. As Manchester United fans, we go into summer windows hoping for the best, but kind of expecting us to be ultimately disappointed. That's pretty much worked and been correct every year for years and years and years post-Fergie. Even some under Fergie, let's be honest. Replacing Ronaldo, let's not talk about that. But this summer's starting to feel different now. And it's not just about the players we're going after and the prices we're negotiating. It's about more than that. And I'll explain it exactly in this video. Please do hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. It makes a big difference to the channel. But we all had hopes and expectations going into this summer that it would feel different. Like a technical director in, a CEO who's going to be joining in 4 days now, and Dan Ashworth. And it is starting to feel different. Of course, we had the extra added surprise of a director of global talent, somebody to come in and help with recruitment, Christopher Favell. And it feels like the Dan Ashworth appointment on the 1st of July was that plug being opened, because there is a lot of activity. And I want to pull up 2 examples here, some bad memories, of exactly how Manchester United have got it wrong before and what we were all so keen for us to not do this summer. And seemingly, we're working towards that. Frankie de Jong was a great player to go after. Not for 13 weeks before you then end up signing Casemiro and Anthony after losing to Brighton and Brentford. Panic because we had no alternative. Cesc Fabregas. The season after Fergie retired, Moyes went after him. He wanted to join. I think Toni Kroos was there as well. We chased him. We ended up with Marouane Fellaini in a deal that we signed after his release clause expired, and we paid even more for it. Awful, awful activity. Not that the players were wrong, but because we had no alternative and we didn't know what else to do. And that's where we're just noticeably seeing a different United. Jarrad Branthwaite, for example, clearly is a player that Manchester United want. You can see there from David Ornstein, the 14th of June, the first offer went in for €43 million in total. And we've now followed up with a second one for €50 million on the 8th of July. My personal prediction is that he will stay at Everton because they don't want to drop the price to a realistic option. But instead of Manchester United getting stuck up on Jarrad Branthwaite and going back with stupid negotiations like $1 million more, even though they've said they're not going to do it, $2 million more, and wasting their time, De Ligt is not necessarily an alternative to Branthwaite, but this is something that we haven't seen from our club too often. Manchester United working on multiple deals. At the same time as the second bid's going in for Branthwaite, we're close to agreeing a deal for De Ligt. And by the way, the fact that we can get De Ligt for 43 mil is really indicative of why Manchester United are probably not going to go that much higher than 50 for Branthwaite. It's just outrageous by comparison. He wants to join Manchester United. We've already got an agreement with him, maybe on personal terms, according to Christian Falk. 50 to 60 million euros. 50 million works out around about 43 mil. Double decent if we get him for that price. But remember this, because Matthijs de Ligt was not even the first right-sided centre-back that we were going after this summer. And had Nice been owned by somebody else, or UEFA didn't have those rules, we would have probably signed Todibo already. So not only have we gone after De Ligt, but that's an alternative to Todibo. And again, Manchester United would I think we've already sent lawyers to try and negotiate this deal. So it's not as if we completely backed away from it, but it's probably unlikely. And Manchester United are looking at Branthwaite and De Ligt as 2 separate deals. Multiple deals being worked on at the same time. And even you go a step further, and we're looking now at David Hanko from Feyenoord as maybe an alternative to Jarrad Branthwaite if that one doesn't work out. So we've looked at as an alternative to Todibo was De Ligt, and we're now looking at maybe an alternative to Branthwaite would be Hanko. Manchester United having alternatives in different positions. I think maybe it feels like a fair amount of this work is probably going to be going down to Barada and Brailsford so far, but I might be wrong. It may well have been the case that Ashworth was able to work behind the scenes. Barada was able to work behind the scenes and set the groundwork for how Manchester United are going to operate this summer, because I'm seeing a substantially different United so far. Add in the fact that we're also looking at Ugarte from PSG. No bids going in on him just yet, but it's not as if sometimes this club, we would wait for a deal to be completed before we can even have a conversation about another deal. We haven't even signed Xerxes, and we're internally we're looking and talking about opportunities for another number 9 if we can get all the sales done properly this summer. It just feels like Manchester United are actually genuinely being ambitious. Because we've got to correct so many problems inside this squad and so many misconceptions, not misconceptions, real true conceptions of how teams look at Manchester United in transfers. Dortmund said 120 million for Sancho. They ended up getting, 72, 75? Anthony. Best case of how bad Manchester United were. We went in with 50, they said no. 60, we went in with 60, we said no, we're done now. Then we went back with 70, then we said no, we're done now. Then we went back with 80. 83 million, I think it was, we paid for it. But we're working on a deal for Xerxes. We're looking at Jared Branthwaite as probably a top choice for a left-sided centre-back. And if it's not going to be him, maybe it's going to be David Hanko as an alternative choice. We already had a deal pretty much agreed, let's be totally honest, for Jean-Claire Todibo. We're not getting hung up on that. We're actually pushing ahead fast with De Ligt, alternatives, and good alternatives. It's not as if we're just begging and scraping the barrel. And then on top of that, you've got the sales. Greenwood, he's going to be going to Marseille. I think 30 million euros plus a 40 to 50% sell-on is a deal that I think would be good for Manchester United. Unfortunately, we haven't really heard much on Casemiro. We haven't really heard much on Jadon Sancho. Huge wages, high earners. What clubs are going to pay that? Saudi Arabia with Casemiro is the most likely bet, but nothing's really happened. And Jadon Sancho, he's made himself almost unbuyable. Well, not unbuyable, but yeah, lower your wage demands, mate, because no one's going to pay that. But this is what I mean about United being ambitious. I always, at the start of every summer, I do what my dream transfer window would look like. And ultimately, it will be a dream. Because Man United would let me down. They'd let us down every year. You'd have hopes and ambitions going into the window, but maybe everything will go to plan this summer. We'll get that new right-sided centre-back and left-sided centre-back. A new central midfielder. That new centre-forward supporting striker who is Xerxes. And maybe an extra striker if we can get all the players gone. Greenwood, Casemiro, Sancho, and the likes of, Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, Lindelof, McTominay, Eriksen, Pellistri, Van der Beek could all possibly be leaving. Now, previously, I would say that was impossible. But now it just feels a bit more possible. It's not guaranteed that it's going to happen. I might end up being disappointed yet again. And those of you who have the natural pessimistic position will be saying, I told you so, Sam. Nothing really has changed. Nothing really has happened. Change has been happening at our club ever since February, and more continues. And Ineos will be massively judged on how successful this summer is, both in terms of signings and in terms of sales, and overall in terms of how Manchester United negotiated. We're negotiating right now with 50 mil with Branthwaite. I don't think we'll go much higher. If we get De Ligt for 43, I think that will be considered a very good deal. Xerxes had a release clause. What else could be happening? Ugarte. There's lots. And it just feels like Man United are acting like a serious club. And also that Manchester United have the right people at the top of the command chain to actually make these decisions and help them go through faster. And if we're not going to be able to sign that player, this is who we should be looking at as an alternative. We never had that before. It was all or nothing, really. Eggs in one basket. Now, it's not that we're spread betting, but it just feels that Manchester United are acting more professionally. And I'm hopeful about this summer transfer window. Look, man, if we get anywhere near that, really, it'll be a very good window. There's a lot to do, but it finally feels like Manchester United have actually got the ambition to do that and the people at the club to help make it happen. And that is something that we have waited years for.